And so I thought, I was never taught this in high school. I bet my employees were never taught this. I should teach this to them. This feels selfish of me to just know this stuff and not share it.
Welcome to the Economy Creators podcast and radio show on K-Fred Lifestyle Optimization Radio. I'm your host, Mary Farias. Economy Creators spotlights real stories of entrepreneurs and creators building their own personal economies around their unique interests, talents, and experiences. If you're an economy creator and would like to be on the show, I invite you to reach out and apply to be a guest. I love meeting and spotlighting economy creators. I am here with Dave Pastor, and he helps small business owners build companies that can run without them and ultimately be sold for maximum value. He works primarily with Main Street businesses, typically owners who have been operating for years but feel stuck, overwhelmed, or too tied to the day to day. His focus is helping them create systems, improve profitability, and turn what they've built into something a buyer actually wants. Now, that sounds like an economy creator to me. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. This is great.
I'm so glad you were able to join me today. This is so great. So, give us a little bit of a background on you, Dave. What got you started in scaling your business so you could sell it and helping other people do it?
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I started a business. I had worked, grew up working for my dad, and he owned a carpet retail store. And I grew up working for him on Saturdays and throughout the summer. But then, when I reached, went off to school for music and got involved in a church for a while. That I wasn't on staff or anything, but ended up moving to Birmingham, Alabama, with a group of people to help get a church started. And I worked a few years, but then I decided I wanted to do something a little bit more than just show up at a job. And the idea of starting my own company was appealing to me, especially because I was having a hard time getting hired. So I thought, you know what? I grew up doing this, and my dad did it the right way, so I can do this. So I started my own company and grew it. And that was a big part of my identity for 28 years was building this company. But what I didn't realize, and my story is very common. A lot of people grow up, they work a job, they know how to do something, and then they decide to go into business for themselves. And what you don't realize when you're making that leap is that you may know how to do the work that business does, but you don't know anything about running a business. And so you learn it on the fly. There's nobody waiting to teach you or anything like that. And so, I realized at some point I built a company, but I'm sort of own a business, but the business more owns me, and I felt trapped. I had to do the work every day. I had trouble knowing how to hire people, how to get this business to run without me. So once I figured a lot of that out, the business just felt lighter. It felt better. It was fun coming to work again. And so I know a lot of small business owners that don't know how to get to the point where the business can run without them. And so that's what I do. Is because
Yeah, you know what? You're speaking my language because I opened a gymnastics center with my husband, and we ran that thing. In the first few years, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't. This business is running me. This is not as fun as I thought it was going to be." But once you're right, once you get that kind of dialed in and figured out those day-to-day things aren't such a hurdle anymore every single day, right? It becomes more enjoyable, doesn't it?
right, yeah, yeah. Well, you're putting your time and energy into creating a business that runs without you instead of putting your time and energy into doing the work that the business does. And so you just have to sort of change your mind, like it's a mindset shift.
It really is. The thing that changed our minds, at least mine, and I think it changed my husband's too, but when I really shifted from deciding that this business is mine. I'm not the business's. And I decided this is here to help me, and so I'm going to use it to help me move forward, right? And so when I shifted that, I took ownership a little bit more, I think. So when in this business, entrepreneurial journey, should people find you?
Um, I would say as soon as possible, but most people aren't ready. I wouldn't have been ready. I think you start out just trying to get customers is your main focus, because customers are money and you have time on your hands and you're trying to just go out and get as much work as you can. But when you are working 60 hours a week and you're drowning, you're still not getting everything done. Um, and you've got people that work for you and they're going home earlier than you, and they're making maybe just as much money as you. That can get that's when most people go, I need help. Like, I can't, this is not sustainable to keep doing this. I don't want to keep doing this. If I'm working 60 or 70 hours a week and I'm not making the money that I need to make, I might as well go get a job, and so that's when most people go, I need some help. And that's when I was ready to listen to somebody I was really looking for answers on how, like, I could see other companies, they knew how to hire people and get people to run the business. I mean, when you order something from Amazon, Jeff Bezos doesn't take your order, and so it's possible to build a company that other people can, run, and you're just the owner of it. So
Yeah.
you start really, you start noticing that, and you start going, okay, I need help. So
Yeah. I love that, especially in service companies like that because, um, for me, like, as a gymnastics coach, for instance, I was in the gym, I was in the office, I was in I was everywhere. I was creating the program, I had all the hats on.
yeah,
Do you find, Dave, that, some entrepreneurs who come to you don't wanna give up some of the hats that they're wearing?
yeah, they never want to give it up. The small business owners, entrepreneurs, we're control freaks in some way. Well, we're just DIYers. We like doing things. We like learning how things work and making them work and having our hands in it. And so we like that part of it. And so yeah, it's really tough. And then when you get good at it, it's tough to hand it off to someone because they're not going to do it as good as you. That's just the way it is. And you have to give them time to learn how to do it and get as good as you. And that's very difficult for someone to watch them hand off a part of what they do to somebody else and watch them not do it well. It's really difficult, but you just have to, you know, you just have to do it or you're going to be stuck in that place forever.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I learned in that particular, industry was training a coach and then letting the coach do what I trained them to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And just going, "Okay, you do it your way. It's not my way, but do it your way."
Right. Yeah. You're like, I don't even want to watch this. I want to go back to my office.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
but it's liberating though, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah. And, one of the things that I had to learn to do, which I'm sure you did, was you have to stop and think about, okay, well, what am I doing that's getting the results that I need to get? And then you have to write all that out so that they have something to follow. And then you have to train somebody, and know that I'm gonna I'm gonna tell them how to do it. I'm gonna show them how to do it. And then I'm gonna step back and watch them, and they're gonna do maybe 10% of what I just told. And that's normal because if you expect them to get everything or most of what you just showed them on the first try, it's just not going to happen. I mean, think of when somebody's trying to show you how to do something on the computer, they're like, well, just click here and then open this up, and then
Right.
by the time they've shown you 8 things, you forgot the first four, and so it's you just have to slow down and realize that training other people is a part of owning a business. It just is. If you're not willing to do it, you're going to be the guy doing it, doing everything.
But isn't there something to be said for the entrepreneur who wouldn't ask their employees to do something they wouldn't do? What do you think about that?
Well, that's a good way of phrasing it. Asking them to do something they wouldn't do as opposed to something that they couldn't do is there's a difference.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I don't think anybody would respect someone who's asking them to do something that they wouldn't do. But you eventually want to get people that because you can't be great at everything. You can't be great at sales and managing people and the finances and training people. You can't be great at it all. So you're going to have the things that you're really good at, but you're going to want to hire people that are really good at the things that you're hiring them to do. And so managing people is one of the toughest jobs to do. And yeah, I feel like for every person who can do really good work, for every 100 people that can do great work, there's only one that can manage people well. It's a skill and you can learn it, but some people are just naturally more inclined to manage people better, and those people are rare. So
Mhm.
that's why there's a lot more workers than managers, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's a good point right there. So you mentioned that being able to transition and let go of some of the control is a key shift that business owners have to make. But what about you? What are some other things that you had to unlearn as you progress through your business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I just said is one of them, that you can't be good at everything. You just can't. And people don't really expect you to as much as you think they do. Um, but probably one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn, like you write out your SOPs, right? This is exactly how you do this. This is exactly how you do that. And you have a way that everything gets done down to the littlest detail. Um, and that's how you train people to do things. Um, but what's more important, you've trained people to do that. You've taught them why it's important to do this step, and this step, and you've made sure that they've learned everything. But e- expecting everybody to execute everything exactly the way you do is not as important um, as them getting the results that you want. And so I learned to train people to make sure they were doing it the way it needed to be done, that they were prepared to do everything the way it needed to be done. But if they found a better way, or if they were getting the results I wanted, in other words, the customers were very happy, they were calling us again, they were referring us to their friends and neighbors, I'm not gonna really be a stickler for how every step is executed. If that technician is doing that and he goes out every day and he's super happy with his job and the customers are super happy with him, that's a win. And so I'm just gonna I'm not gonna inspect that guy's work as hard as somebody who's not getting those results.
Yeah, I think that's really key because sometimes we get so stuck in the minutia of you didn't do it in the right order or this, that, or the other thing, and we forget to say, but for me, for instance, these kids left the gym smiling, they were excited
Yeah.
to come back in next week and the parents just signed them up for another session and all of those things. Those are the things that matter, right?
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. If that's the results you're wanting to get and you're getting them, then yeah. Not, I mean, as long as you're getting there ethically, and you feel good about the way you got there, then the small details of how everything is executed, you just have to, I find
Yeah.
again, you got to give people some breathing room.
I agree, and so did you find that having an overall mission is critical for that type of, end result to show up regardless of how the minutia happened each step of the way? Did is a do you encourage businesses to have a mission for themselves to follow?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a mission, and it was nice because you could tie everything back to that. So everything that somebody did, you know, you could, you could ask somebody, well, is this how is this creating the best experience possible for this customer? And you know, a- and sometimes the answer was, well, this is what it's doing, and and they're right. And other times it's like, yeah, I guess that's not creating a great experience. So if that's the overall mission, is what we do, we're creating the best possible experience for customers from the time they pick up the phone to the time we leave their home. Then everybody knows this is what's important is the customer experience. And so they're tying everything they do to that.
What are some of the self-image things that you had to shift from being a fledgling, entrepreneur to being someone who scaled his business and was ready to sell it at a great price, and so how what is that shift that had to happen over those years?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't know that really when a shift like that happens that you're real aware it's happening. It's easier to look back and to see, that I went from someone who really saw myself as an employee in my own company, because I had to get out there and work every day. I did the work. And so, you know, nobody really tells you, okay, at this point, you got to shift your mindset and think like this. So things happen more gradually where, I think one of the turning points was when somebody, and they really said it in somewhat of an offhanded way, but it really stuck with me. I was talking about my company, and they had mentioned, they said, boy, isn't that's pretty great that you get to employ people and they get to take care of their families based off of what you built. And I never really thought about it that way. I thought about, oh, I need to hire people so that they can, go out and do the work we do because I need more people. But thinking about it in those terms, it's this, you're really doing the same thing, but when you're thinking about it differently, I'm thinking about it's not just this person needs our service. I need more people to go out and do the service. I'm thinking we have a greater need, you know, and we don't have the capacity to fill it. If I get someone, then I've got this spot for them where they can, because we had a 401k, we had health benefits. So I had this way that this person can make a living that in the culture we had built was, for the right person, it was a great culture to be a part of. And so it dawned on me that I'm creating opportunities for people to find a place to work where they can feel fulfilled. They can, make money to support their family. They've got money that's growing in a 401k. And that shift really helped me think this is what I'm building. We're not just going out and doing this work every day. I'm building something that's a really good place, or at least I felt like it. And I think most of the employees, other than the ones I had to fire from time to time, or quit, but I think most of them would feel like I built a really good company to work at.
I love that because you're thinking in terms of I get to employ another person and bring this money to their family, bring these opportunities to their family and help them in that way. And now I get to go out and find some customers for them to serve. So you have
Right,
you
yeah.
it's a different mindset for sure. I think that's a great shift.
When you're really excited about what you're building and what you get to build as a business owner, it's really up to you. I mean, everything's available. You just got to figure it out. And so, thinking about that, this is what I'm building, and the culture sort of honestly it evolved on its own in some ways, and the employees had a lot more to do with the culture developing than I did. I could see where things were starting to go, and and thought that's a really good thing, because I saw guys helping one another out, calling each other, "Hey, I'm done for the day. Do you need some help?" And I just thought, okay, that's a really good thing. I didn't start that; they started it. But how can I, make sure that this, keeps getting carried on?
Yeah, ooh, that's good. That means you did start it in the sense that you created the atmosphere for them or the space for them to be able to show up for each other that way. So even though you didn't say, "Hey, call each other after after you're finished," you built that space for them to feel like this is the next right thing to do. This is what I'm supposed to do, right? I think that that's wonderful. That's a great culture. Absolutely. Well, speaking of helping your employees grow, how did goal setting come into this whole trajectory for you?
Yeah, that was just honestly, it was not even me deciding to do that. It was just like came from above, really. When I look back, because it was a Saturday, I was in my office by myself. I went down there to get some things done because nobody else was around, and and give you a little more details to the story than I normally tell. I was there and I heard this really strange noise, and so I am like, okay, is there like it was almost like a moaning sound and a scratching sound. I thought, oh, I wonder if there's like a raccoon caught somewhere or something. So I started looking around in the storage room for where this noise was coming from, and I'm pulling out these bins that we have that we store some stuff in cautiously because I don't know what's going to jump out at me. And and I end up finding these journals that I was keeping and looking through them and realizing that I had written some goals out, and some of the goals that I had written out, one of the goals was to be in the building that we were in by a certain date. And I had completely forgotten about writing these out. And I thought, wow, I really got excited. I wrote down some goals, and just the process of writing them out and having a plan, even though I forgot about it, here I am. I'm in the very building that I was thinking I'm going to buy that. And so that got me thinking, I need to pay a lot more attention to goals. I've learned a lot about them over the years just from being in business. You go to conferences and you read books and all that. And I thought, why is this not taught in high school? Like this is a life skill and it's incredibly helpful to point you get to steer your life where you want it to go. And you don't reach every goal, but you are moving in a direction that you want to go in, and you know you feel more in control. And so I thought, I was never taught this in high school. I bet my employees were never taught this. I should teach this to them. This feels selfish of me to just know this stuff and not share it. And so I cleared out a morning where I got everybody together and we had some breakfast and we had no jobs that morning. And I just went through all the things that I had learned about goal setting. Well, that 1 or 2 hours that morning turned into an entire day every year where we set goals together, company goals, everybody set their personal goals. And then we had a whiteboard up and we had a meeting every morning and we went over everybody's goals, and we tracked them on the whiteboard. And that became part of the culture of the company, was to do this, the goal setting. And so I just saw the effect that it had on everybody and how it had the effect that it had on me. But, people were they were talking about their goals just like you would hear two people talking about what they did over the weekend. Or And you could see they're making better decisions in their life. They're thinking about things more, and it just and ultimately they were having more success in life, and as a result, I had better employees, and it wasn't even anything that I could foresee coming down the road. It was I just wanted them to learn this stuff, but man, they were better employees because they were focused on reaching their goals, and then they saw the company as a vehicle for getting them there.
I'd like to step away from the interview for just a minute. What Dave is describing here is building a culture of growth inside his company. He has normalized the concept of goal setting and talking about the goals that his employees are setting for themselves and for the company. I have found that this is extremely important when building people around you and growing as a business. When the goal setting process is a part of everyday life, there is a trajectory towards success, no matter what. Earl Nightingale said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. As business owners or leaders, we can encourage those we lead to pursue something greater than what they have right now in this moment, to help them to focus on growing it and to expand larger than their present place. We are helping them to grow. We are giving them the tools to improve themselves. We are creating a culture of growth. What I have found is that when you, as a business owner, can encourage growth, and when you can reward that growth with expanded opportunity, employees understand that they are improving themselves. They understand their value, and they know that they are on a success path. A leader who does this is making their business better by helping to make the people inside the business better. This shows up as better customer relations, better service, more referrals, and a vibrant business at the center of your own economy. It is the law of cause and effect. As a leader serves their employees, the employees improve. As the employees improve, the service they provide improves, leaving everyone they meet with the impression of increase. It's a win win win. I challenge you, how can you serve your employees at a greater level by incorporating a culture of goal setting inside of your business? It's a question worth contemplating and answering. Now, let's get back to the interview.
We tracked the company goals, and then they tracked their personal. We didn't track their personal goals at that meeting. We could have, but I mean, people would talk about them, when they hit a certain milestone or things like that. Because people had weight loss goals, or they were saving up for a house, or different things like that. And so it was always exciting when people would share when they hit a milestone or things like that. So
Yeah. Ah, that's neat. I love that culture. I think that's fantastic. I mean, in the idea of, in the realm of gymnastics, it makes sense to have a kid set a goal and then help them track it and teach them how to do that. But what you're describing is exactly what Bob Proctor did in his floor cleaning business, though. He did have a floor cleaning business. That's how he first started. And he would talk to his employees about their goals, about what they truly wanted. And he would help them with that, and so what you're describing is exactly how Bob Proctor started this whole self-development world of his.
yeah, yeah. Well, I would imagine, when you're building something and then you see other people having success, it's just exciting, like you want them to win, and to just the fact that you get to be there, or be a part of it in some way, and their wins is, it just makes your life. It gives you more motivation to reach your own goals, and it's. I could see where he would end up in that place. Yeah.
Mhm.
One of the great things about the morning meeting, and this is just an aside, but when you've got a company, and it's a small, we were a small company. We weren't, 150 people or anything like that, which even that might be small for some people. But you have that morning meeting every day. You get to see where everybody's at, and so if somebody seems a little off, you can pull them aside and just say, "Hey, Mary, I noticed you were a little quiet. Is everything okay?" And you end up seeing where they're like, oh, like they don't want to tell you. And then eventually they're like, well, you said this thing about Tuesday nights, and my wife works Tuesday nights. I got to be home early, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And you're able to go, okay, we can work that out. Don't sweat it. Whereas before, if you're not having that meeting every day, you might say something and then it's festering for a week or two. It's bothering them. And a lot of employees don't have the courage to talk to the owner or talk to the boss, and so it just festers and they just, might start looking somewhere else for a job or something like that. And you can get in touch with where they're at that morning, if they're off just a little bit, and you can deal with it and fix the problem and move on.
Yeah, I love that because, I used to do that with my gymnasts actually. While they were stretching, I would walk around to each one of them and ask them, "What's your positive today?" It served 2 purposes. One, for them to stop thinking about all the crud that went on and think about whatever might be positive, and I said, "It could be anything. It could be had a good smoothie for breakfast. I don't care what it is. It could be anything," right? Um, but that gave me the opportunity to talk to each one, just like what you're talking about, and just do a little check-in. Some of them are fine, and you're like, "Okay, good job," and then you move to the next one, and some of them need you can tell, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And you can see who needs the attention that day, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so smart. I like that.
Yeah, well, I like yours. Yours is smart too. So, you mentioned building, so what are you currently building that you're excited about?
Okay. So when I, sold my company, I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I had some ideas, but I also wanted to leave room for just for things to emerge naturally and see what I gravitated towards. I knew a lot of small business owners from the work I did, and was involved in a lot of different groups, and so I started working with small business owners, and I thought that I was going to teach them how to do what I did and create this culture of goal setting. And I had built this, I took what I taught my employees and I turned it into a course. And I thought that I could just, that I would go in and work with them and help them, the business owner and their employees, and develop this culture. Well, everybody seemed a lot more interested in how I sold my company and what I did to get it ready to be sold. And um, so I thought, okay, well, if that's what people are really needing, and they do, a lot of people didn't have a plan, didn't have any idea on how to sell their company, and they were planning on just, oh, when I'm done, I'll just go out of business. And I'm thinking you could be done and then collect a check for, a million, $2 million, and and continue living the way you're used to living. Um so I started thinking, okay, let me help people with their exit strategy. So started helping people with their exit strategy, and I still get to use this goal setting system that I created because there's goals involved in your exit strategy. You have to start redesigning your company so that it's something that a buyer is going to want. And so you've got to set goals on how you're going to do that. So they get to use the system. I get to teach it to them, but it's just in a much more specific way right now.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's smart to listen to your market, isn't it? You have something that you're building, that still has to do with the goal setting, and, do you wanna share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. So I took the whole course and I thought I'm going to create it online so that people can have access to it. And and it's a 12 module course essentially, but then there's a lot of other things around it that I go into. Um, so we cover, start with figuring out where you are, where you're at financially, where you're at, spiritually, where you're at, in your relationships, because all those things matter. And then we do some work to figure out what you really want. We set a foundation, and then we talk about just what makes a goal a good goal. I cover SMART goals. I created something called the Sharon template that helps you understand what skills you need, The accountability that you're going to need, the resources, the obstacles that might come up, things like that. Um, but there's extra stuff in there for, um, I don't know if you ever heard of the emotional cycle of change. So whenever you're trying to do something that you've never done before and you set a goal, you're going to start out seeing all the positives, right? It's called optimistic incompetence. You have no idea how to do what you want to do, but all you can see is how great the results are going to be. And then you have or uninformed optimism. That's what it's called. And then you have informed pessimism, where you've learned like, oh, this is so much harder than I thought, and you hit this valley of despair where I, I should I, I should just go back to the way things were. But if you can hold on, then you start moving back up, and then you hit informed competence, where it's now this thing is easy for you to do and to make money, and you understand it, and but if you don't know that that's part of the journey of anything that you're trying to change in yourself, or a goal you're setting, you're going to hit that valley of despair and quit, because all you can see is this isn't working. And so it's helpful to know that this is, nope, you're right here. Here's the GPS. This is where you're at on the map. This is where you're supposed to be. Just keep going.
Bob Proctor calls that the terror barrier, right? Where that valley of despair and terror. Oh, but it's true. It forces people back into their comfort zone so quickly. They see the obstacle and they're just like, this is not what I signed up for. This is really hard, and I don't know how I'm going to ever do it. And the people are looking on the outside for all the answers, and they don't realize they're inside. They're coming. They're coming. You just have to
Yeah.
hang, like you said, you just have to hang on just a little bit. But I do find that when people understand that it is a part of growth, is that's really when the biggest growth happens, is in that what feels like despair or terror. It feels like everything is pulling against me right now, or pushing
Right.
against me right now, and that is the breakthrough point. In fact, I just put a post on Facebook today, is when everything seems to be falling apart, that's when your breakthrough is happening.
Right. Right. Well, and that's what makes someone like you so important, because you're right there when people hit that point saying, nope, keep going, you're fine. And if someone doesn't have someone like you in their corner, they're gonna quit, because they just can't see what's down the road. But you can. You're a guide, and so that's what's incredibly helpful, and is somebody like you.
Oh, well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. And I think someone like you too, because you have, what I like about your story and what you do is that you have lived it, and you figured out what worked, and you learned the systems that need to be in place. You know what a business owner needs to shift to inside the business to make it attractive for a buyer. And I think that that's wonderful. When we closed our gym, we did exactly what you said. We just went out of we pretty much just went out of business. We sold all our stuff and we're like, see ya, you know. But to have someone like you, a guide like you, to say, no, 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 we can make this work for you. You've been working for this business for so long. Let's make it work for you. And
Yeah.
is that kind of where the shift happens for them?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to catch people at the right point, because sometimes people are so burnt out, they just want out. They're done, and I understand how that feels. Yeah, I felt that, and I luckily fought through it. But but when people are at the point of just, I need help, and you can show them that there's a way to do this, that yeah, you're in the middle of it, so all you're seeing is the chaos. All you're seeing is, I come to work every day and all I do is put out fires, and this problem happened, and this piece of equipment isn't working, and this guy called in sick, and whatever it is, and you feel like every plan you had for the day is now changed, and you got nothing done that day. And so you can show people that, no, there's a way that you can structure this, and let's just start taking this whole big picture of what your company could look like, and handling it one bite at a time. And let's get this in place and let's improve this 1%, and just keep improving things little by little, and you get there. But it starts with a mindset shift. You have to think, I'm not going to do things the way I've been doing them, because that's easy to go back to because you know how to do it. But you have to think, this is what I'm building, this is what it's going to take, and this is where I want to end up.
I know every business is different, and so the time is probably different for each business, but is there an average length of time that this takes for business owners to be able to go from, "I'm in this business," to, "I can sell this business"?
You can always start from where you're at. Now, if you're a real go-getter and you don't mind working 60, 70 hours a week, you might get there in 2 years. If you're somebody that's like, look, I want to do this, I don't want to burn out while I'm doing it, it might take you 3 or 4 years, or 5. But you're building something that at the end of those 3, 4 years, it's nothing like what it used to be. You can go on a month vacation, you can come back, everything's running fine. And whereas before you try to go on a 3-day vacation and your phone's ringing the whole time.
I remember those
Hey
days.
boss, problem, one more problem.
Yeah, and only you can solve it.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, I remember that. Oh, I know. And so is it only service-oriented business that you work with, or do you work with any type of business?
I know the service industry really well because I owned a company that was a service company for 28 years, and there's s- things that are the same. You're sending technicians out, in vehicles. You've got a fleet of vehicles. You've got a schedule to manage. You've got calls coming in. A lot of it's the same, whether it's plumbing or HVAC or carpet cleaning, whatever it is. So I love working with those companies because I know what that road looks like, and I can, I know where they're at on the road. I can help them. I'm very familiar with it. But I will work with anybody who wants help. Because I want to see somebody who's overwhelmed get some relief and get some things figured out. And if I know this is what they need to do and it's going to help them, you know, I'm I'd love to help them. Whether they own a CBD shop or whatever, dispensary, it doesn't matter. I might not know anything about it, but I've got a good idea of how things work in a business and how to get your SOPs in place, how to train your employees, and what to do.
Yeah, do you find that it's the codification, getting all that information in writing so people can pick up a notebook and figure it out? Is that a huge piece of it?
It's so much work, and it was so much I used to get up at 4 in the morning and spend an hour every morning writing out my SOPs, to get this done. And it's a job that's never done because by the time you're done, things have changed. You might get a different vendor. Now you got to rewrite that you order it from this vet place or whatever. But, at least you've got it done and you've got this. And I use my employees. I didn't figure this out right away, but I learned, oh, let me let them write some of these SOPs and get them involved. And then people own what they create. And so they're more, they're telling you, this is how I do it. This is step by step. And then you have somebody else follow their step by step and see if it works. That's how I got it done. But there's some AI, you can now with AI, you can use that and it can make the process so much more, efficient. It's still a daunting task to get everything written down and then to train everybody. But with AI, you can get a lot more done in a day than I did.
Me too. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, where can people find you if they need you? Because I think there are a lot of people out there who need you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the best way is they can. Well, there's a couple things. They can go to my website, yourgoalmind.net, and you know, all my information is there. Or my email is dave.p@yourgoalmind.com. And then We can put it in the show notes because it's too much to spell out. But here's the one of the best things that I would love for people to do. This goal setting course that I created, and it's more than a course; it's a community. So if you're involved in certain industries, you can be a part of a group, and you can go back and forth and offer each other help and support. It's a great community. We'll leave that link in the show notes. You can sign up. It's free for the first 3 modules. And if you feel like, you're getting help out of it, it's better than anything you've read this year, then great. Because I guarantee you're going to feel that way. If you feel like it was a waste of your time, call me and I'll buy you your next business book. So
Ooh, I like it.
that's how confident I am you're gonna like it. So go there, sign up, and then it's really easy. And I read all the comments. So if anybody's got any comments, I'll be reading them, and I'm glad to, get in touch with somebody if they need help.
Fabulous. Thank you. And before we go, is there anything else that you would like to say to the audience? Is there any final words of wisdom from Dave?
Oh boy, I don't get asked that much. So yeah, here's my chance. This has hit me lately. Courage is probably the thing that's going to help a business owner more than anything else, more than a great strategic plan, more than working hard, more than getting a great, financial backing, having great employees. All of that is necessary, but nothing gets you further quicker than having courage, and courage to be generous to your employees, courage to take a chance on something not working out. I've just seen over and over again where courage is essential to life, really. But if you're in business, it's essential to being successful.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dave. It was a great time talking to you. And I know that there are so many people who need what you do. So thank you.
You are welcome, and thank you for having me on here, Mary. You're a pleasure to talk to.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for listening. Are you an economy creator? Join me for my free Economy Creators Workshop the first week of every month. And if you're interested in being on the Economy Creators podcast and radio show here on KFred Lifestyle Optimization Radio, please reach out and apply. I can't wait to meet you.